News Talk 610 AM and 102.1 FM. KBNU.
KBNU News Time is 4:03. I'm Bill Walter with this news update brought to you by Roof Rescue. A woman was transported to the hospital for evaluation after driving into the side of an apartment building Monday afternoon. Crash occurred northeast of Logan High School at 4:20 p.m. The woman was headed westbound on 100 South and stopped at the intersection of 100 West. When the light turned green, witnesses saw her drive straight forward across the street, up onto the curb, and hit the side of the Mill Creek apartment building. The car was traveling less than 10 miles per hour when it hit the building. No other vehicles were involved. Witnesses ran up to the car and attempted to make contact with the driver, the sole occupant. She did not appear to have any injuries, but was shaking her head and waving her arms around. As emergency responders arrived on the scene, the woman opened the vehicle door and was pulled out by officers. She admitted to being under the influence, saying she was the biggest drug dealer in the valley and surprised that she had not been caught yet. The woman was treated by paramedics on scene and transported to Logan Regional Hospital for treatment. No other vehicles were involved and there were no other injuries. The building sustained minimal damage to its facade. The crash remains under investigation by the Logan Police Department. KBNU News Time is 4:04. KBNU weather for tonight. Widespread haze tonight. Patchy fog developing late tonight. Otherwise mostly clear. Low in the mid-20s, around 25 degrees. Some patchy fog before noon. Hazy sunshine tomorrow. Mid-40s for the high. And then 40% chance of rain developing by midday Thursday. Rain showers likely Thursday night into Friday. And right now we have 32 degrees here at KBNU. KBNU weather brought to you by Quality One Insurance. Matt Robbins has access to many insurance carriers and will give you options to protect your business. Give your insurance package a fresh look. Call Quality First Insurance, 435-752-0101.
Roof Rescue is your local roofing specialist, dedicated to keeping your home safe and dry no matter the weather. Their team of experienced roofers is here to serve you, providing top quality service at affordable prices. From minor repairs to complete roof replacements, they've got you covered. Remember, your roof is your first line of defense in protecting your family from the elements. So don't wait until the next storm to discover your roof problems. Call Roof Rescue today at 435-999-4268. They're your trusted local roofing experts, here to keep your home safe and dry. Roof Rescue, celebrating 10 years of providing watertight peace of mind.
KBNU News Time is 4:06. Lawmakers in Utah agreed unanimously Monday, in the Senate at least, that the Beehive State needs its own National Hockey League franchise. Punctuated with a round of applause, state representatives voted for a resolution supporting the NHL in Utah, something Utah Jazz owners Ryan and Ashley Smith and the Smith Entertainment Group have been seeking for quite some time. It's also something fans of the sport are more than ready for. The shot was taken officially on January 24th when SEG attempted to light the lamp with a formal request for a franchise expansion. As of Monday, the NHL has been tight-lipped on whether it was entertaining expanding a franchise to Salt Lake City, releasing only a short statement after Ryan Smith announced the request had been submitted. In it, the league wrote that it appreciates the interest and that it has been impressed by the Smiths' commitment to their community. The statement concluded that Utah is a promising market and the league is looking forward to continuing its discussions. The Utah Jazz ownership has been in talks with the NHL since 2022. Governor Cox, Senate President Stuart J. Adams, and Speaker Mike Schultz issued a joint statement on Monday, which said in part that Utah has the foundation of being the next major sports and entertainment destination in the U.S., with the fastest-growing economy, youngest population in the country, and a long history as a premier winter sports destination. Utah is excited about the prospect of being the new home to an NHL franchise. And police in North Ogden on Sunday arrested a Salt Lake City woman. They were there to help when, after responding to a call of a person lying in a roadway. In a probable cause statement filed early Sunday, an officer with North Ogden Police reported that 34-year-old Nicole Marie Martinez was found partially in a road and unresponsive. When authorities were unable to wake her, EMTs were dispatched to the scene. The affidavit stated Martinez, who had not been identified at that time, became combative with officers and began shouting profanities at them. They also discovered a bag of marijuana, according to the booking documents. She continued shouting profanities at authorities while they transported her to the hospital. At the hospital, Martinez was being transported by wheelchair, but ended up having to be carried in by officers after again becoming combative. The affidavit stated she had to be physically carried to a bed and held down while being transported amid the ongoing tirade of profanities. Martinez reportedly urinated in the patrol vehicle. She was also carried inside by staffers after resisting, according to the jail booking document, and she refused to answer any questions other than her city of residence. Martinez was booked into the Weber County Jail on suspicion of assault on a peace officer, also failure to disclose identity, intoxication, and other charges. KBNU News Time is 4:09. For more details on these and other stories, visit CacheValleyDaily.com.
Sean Hannity from 1 till 4 on News Talk KVNU 102 FM and 610 AM.
Imagine driving home, a peaceful evening shattered by a chunk of ice that falls off from another vehicle, leaving your windshield shattered and your arm broken. That's what happened to my neighbor Jim. Insurance and the other driver were no support. It's a tough situation, but I told him to reach out to the advocates. They've got your back. No upfront costs to find out if you have a case. If you've been hurt in an accident that's not your fault, don't hesitate. Chat with the advocates at utahodvocates.com or call 801-355-5550. Now with offices in Logan.
Cache Valley Hearing and Audiology is Cache Valley's most trusted name in hearing aids. Once again, you'll be able to hear a loved one's laughter and understand conversations. Schedule a free hearing evaluation with Dr. Paul Daines at Cache Valley Hearing and Audiology. Call 753-4327. That's 753-HEAR. Or visit CacheHearing.com.
Bring back what you've been missing. Bring back Cache Valley Hearing and Audiology.
For the people.
We are waiting with bated breath for news from the Cache Republican Party meeting an executive committee tonight.
With Jason Williams.
And I'm really excited about this next segment. We have two guests here in studio. We're going to talk about something that we've talked about many times here on the show, but from a bit of a different angle.
Weekday afternoons from 4 till 6 on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102 FM.
Welcome to KVNU's For the People. It is Tuesday, January 30th. I'm Jason Williams, Bill Walter here in the studio as well. A lot to talk about. A new episode of Sutherland Institute's Defending Ideas we'll get to later on in the hour. This one will make you think and hopefully make you call in. That's the point of these segments that they send us each week. And we've been off for a couple of weeks. They've been off. And they're back. And the topic today is germane to a lot of discussions happening in the legislative cycle. The 45-day session is here in week 3 near the midway point. And taxes, the economy, energy, all of this. So we'll kind of encapsulate that whole legislative debate around this week's episode of Sutherland Institute's Defending Ideas. That's coming up later on in the hour. An update from the Cache Water District, what they're tracking in the legislative session as well. Here in hour one, though, once a month, she gives us an hour of her time to come in and just talk news, politics, current events from the perspective of someone very involved in politics here in Utah. And Shellie Giddings, former chair of the Cache County Republican Party, is here with us. And Shellie, thank you for making the time again. I look forward to these segments each month because it's always fun, I think, for our listeners, but for me as well, just to get a different perspective on you can get kind of caught up in your own way of looking at things and way of processing the news. And so it's fun to get a different perspective and learn, how others are translating things that we see. And legislative session, though, man, it is, I think I've said this 3 years in a row now, but they seem to have this breakneck pace, and I can't decide how I feel about it. In ways, I like it because they're not wasting any time. They're not. They waste the first 2 weeks, but but then after that, they get to the state's business, and they really just jump right in. And sometimes I worry that it's too. Despite how accessible they are, how easy it is to track online and off everything they do. How transparent the whole process is. Sometimes I worry that it just leaves people with day jobs and lives and kids just completely behind because it moves so fast. So fast. And,
I'm not going to name the name, but one of our local legislators one time, well, no, not one time, every session, he'll call me and ask me if there's anything coming up that he should know about or, that I'm concerned about, which I appreciate.
Sure.
However, he said to me this last time, I can't keep track of everything.
That's concerning, huh?
Uh-huh.
From a lawmaker.
Yeah.
Not that I blame them.
Well, because there's so much.
Yeah.
And he said, I can't keep track of anything, or everything. He said, so when something comes up you're concerned about, please let me know. And so I think that is a problem.
Sure.
Because I think this is the same problem we have in D.C. with reading the bills, right?
Yeah, the bills are like 2,500 pages.
And they can't read them.
They wrote them Tuesday, and they're voting on it Wednesday afternoon. And yeah,
and I don't think we quite have that problem, but with the amendments and all of the, the second readings and the third readings and the and there's so much, and they're concerned about getting their own bills through.
Which is really their primary focus, right? Mm-hmm. I've heard lawmakers themselves say something similar, which is that they've been taken off guard. Something will hit the calendar, the reading calendar, and they'll be expected to vote on it. And they realize, I've not even looked at this. And so they're scrambling to talk to their interns, their staff, say, give me a quick 30-second pitch on what this bill is. And that's why I think you see a lot of so one thing, Adam Brown at BYU crunches the data on this, and he pointed out in the last 3 years, the number of changed votes has gone up.
Yeah.
And to me, that says they're moving too fast.
Well, there's more bills.
Yeah.
Every year they're adding more bills. Now they don't all make it to the floor, but
sure,
there's still a lot. There's and now at the end of the session, we passed 562 and it's like that's about 500 too many.
Should you have? Just because you can,
right?
Yeah.
So how do you feel about the new hockey team?
I'm super excited. I was so surprised to see that become a legislative discussion yesterday. So, it was the rumor. Well, what I thought was a rumor popped up, just last week? Ryan Smith said, we're looking into this. We're having conversations. And I thought, years from now, maybe. How long have they been talking about a Major League Baseball team? And about 7-8 years, and now it's finally going to happen, likely. But then this NHL thing came up, and yesterday lawmakers were basically saying, we're ready. If this requires... So for listeners who don't know, there's a lot of concern. Are we going to spend taxpayer dollars on this? Are we going to... And who knows? Cities, might jump in. That's a whole different debate. But the legislature can open up financing and things that don't really cost taxpayers directly, but can grease the wheels on getting something to happen.
Now, hold on, Jason.
Building a new stadium, things like that.
Hold on.
You're going to say that it is taxpayer funded, right?
Any money the government has is taxpayer money.
Fair enough. Yeah. But at least it would be a loan instead of a...
Okay, maybe.
But that is fair. And we do see, completely off topic, but to get to your point there, I know very little about Mississippi politics and this specific issue, but there was a story today of Mississippi lawmakers. They'd put $44 million aside for a company that was going to come in and create a lot of jobs, and they then they also the details of the package showed that it was going to, for 10 years, going to be a 100% corporate and every other tax break for this company. But lawmakers kept coming back to taxpayers saying, look, yes, this is a total handout to this company, but it's going to be 1,200 jobs, and Mississippi needs that. And so, great, go. And then they passed the bill, and then it comes out, it's Amazon, the company least in need of a handout. I mean, this is a multi-billion-dollar a year company, and they're basically, they have these states over a barrel. And they're like, well, who's going to offer us the biggest sweetheart deal? Mm-hmm. And so I think about things like that whenever we're talking about NHL teams or Major League Baseball teams. And technically there's enough out there without any taxpayer funds involved, loans or otherwise, that this could happen without that. But the reality is they might go somewhere else. And so...
Well, so what my question is, Ryan Smith, he's got his billions of dollars,
he could fund
right?
it. He could build a stadium himself, right?
Seriously.
You sometimes want to say that, right? Like, pony up. You're going to make a lot of money off of this.
Exactly. So, these stadiums they build these days are amazing.
Oh, yeah.
So I heard that and I thought, oh boy, here we go. They're going to cut our taxes this year, but how much of our tax dollars are going to go to a new stadium for hockey?
Yeah.
It's
a fair question.
Well, and we're in an economy right now where people need to be saving their money and buying groceries for their family.
Yeah, that's
right.
And it's great to have, I would love having an NHL team that is, at most is a drive from here to Point of the Mountain away. Mm-hmm. I think that would be so great. But, we are talking about taxpayer investment, and is it needed? Do we need to open up financing through the taxpayers to make this happen? Or would it happen otherwise anyway?
Yeah.
There's a team somewhere in a way too small arena that's looking for a place. And I feel like if a bunch of wealthy investors got together and built a stadium, they'd probably still come here.
Right. Yeah. Well,
it's a legit question.
Well, and you also have to look at, oh, this might get me in some trouble. What's the angle from our legislators and our governor? Are they trying to leave some kind of, personal legacy? Oh, look what we did. We brought this team here.
Yeah.
Is that the reasoning behind it?
It almost always is something like that, right? They want to... Yeah, because it, and then they look at it and see all the money, the tourism and things that will be attached to some extent, at least, less with NHL than Major League Baseball, of course. Yeah. But and they see all this revenue and all this, and I get it, but I really wish someday that someone would find a way to sit down and quantify all this. I get so frustrated with the governors, they call it something different now, which that just bugs me too. But it was the Governor's Office of Economic Development. And now they have some, so that kind of started to have a bad name because of a few conversations where people said, well, what was our return on investment for the taxpayers? And they shrugged and said, we have no idea. So they changed the name to fix that problem. And I don't remember what they call it now. But I like that they do some of the things they do. And I feel like there are times when, investing in your own economy with taxpayer dollars is a smart thing. But it really bugs me that no one can say what we got. And whether it was spent smartly or whether it was just somebody who knew somebody.
Right.
and that we should be able to say to taxpayers with this specific example, okay, we, through public financing or backing of private financing, either way, taxpayers, guaranteed the loan to build this stadium. It'll be paid off in X number of years, and then that means X dollars in revenue and economic activity for restaurants and hotels in the city that it's located in, and that all goes back into the state coffers so we can build roads. But we should be able to at least generally lay it out.
Yep.
And say, here's what you get.
Yes.
And they never can.
No, they can't. They can't. Well, and it's the same thing. I mean, this is kind of changing the subject, but with the school bonds that they do.
Yeah.
I want to know, how much did you spend on that beautiful mosaic in the lobby of Ridgeline High School?
Sure.
And
what was the ROI? What was the...
Exactly.
How does it benefit students or the school or, and we should be able to put that on paper somewhat.
And you cannot nail down school districts and how much they spend on what. Yet they keep wanting our money. And I can beat this like a dead horse because, we've had this discussion before, but it's the same thing. It's a
lengthy bond, though. I mean, you have a fair criticism because we're talking a 20-year?
I think so.
20-year bond is what's being proposed?
Yeah, so if you're going to take my money, I want to know how you're spending it. I know how I spend my own money, right?
Sure.
And so I want you to tell me how you're spending my money, but we don't hold anybody accountable, even the state government.
Yeah, that's what is so frustrating. And they always fall back and say, look, you can look at our checkbook spending anytime you want. Well, of course you can. That's one of the things I praise Utah on, is that it's all there. But is it there in a way that's useful and understandable for the average taxpayer? No. It's literally just a list and a searchable website, transparent.utah.gov. I love that it exists. But for someone to look through that, if you've ever tried, and say, okay, what a mosaic at a high school, for example, what did we get for that? How is this being quantified as a valid expense? And I'm not even saying these things are wrong. I'm saying maybe there is a justifiable reason that you could say, well, it improves the atmosphere, and we know that has a positive impact on education outcomes. Great, but tell us,
right, exactly
what it is.
Yes.
And that's and I'd like to see this same thing on some of the expenses. We're pretty good about this in our districts here in northern Utah, but I've seen some expenses towards athletics at some districts in Utah, and I would like to see the justified return on investment that could be spelled out there.
Well, especially when the football team or maybe the baseball team, and they're traveling down to St. George, and they've got to play Desert Hills and the schools down there that are in,
Sure.
And then the debate team can't travel down there, or if they do, the parents have to fork out a bunch of money for them to travel.
Yeah.
Why? Why? Since when is football more important than debate? Why can't they all get the same amount of money so that they can do,
sure,
the same traveling and those sorts of things?
I think that's a legit thing to bring up, because the justification is always, well, this builds the school, but doesn't that apply to debate? Doesn't that apply to the drama club? Doesn't that apply to a ski club? All of it supposedly gets kids involved outside of the classroom in their education. So, yeah, rent a bus for the debate team. Or whatever you have to do.
Pay for their hotel to have, or if they have to spend the night. I don't know if they even allow them to do that anymore. But
I know when I was on the debate team in high school, we had to fundraise for our own hotels.
Yeah.
The school picked up a bit, and then we had to raise. I think it was a small amount, but for us as high school kids, we had to raise about $800. Okay. To go to a national, and we were invited to the competition because we were successful. We were doing so well, but we had to fundraise for a few months to pay half the cost of the trip. And I can't imagine now with prices what they are now. You have until April to raise $14,000.
Seriously,
go sell some cookies.
I know my daughter's going to be going back to New York City for a a Broadway intensive.
Oh, cool.
And yeah, it's like, oh, that's really expensive. But it's worth it, you know.
Oh, sure. Pretty pricey, though. Just the plane ticket.
Oh, goodness. And, you know, the hotel. Anyway, that's okay. But, no, things are more expensive now. But I just want to know why we seem to value sports over debate and theater and, you know, FBLA and those sorts of things. You know, I have a daughter who was very successful in debate, FBLA, DECA. She's a state champion in a number of things. I feel like those activities brought so much more to her, taught her more than if she was playing tennis and I don't know, you know, you have to be disciplined to be in sports, right? And there are really good things. I'm not saying that sports aren't good. Oh, no, yeah. I think it ties in with academic achievement, absolutely. But yes. I see your point. But we seem to value sports more. Yeah. But, man, we went on a tangent, didn't we? But it all relates, though, because it all gets back to being able to – it's so frustrating that no matter what we're talking about, because if you think about it, we've gone from – you know, some federal stuff to some state stuff to some very local school district stuff. But the thread between all of those is that as taxpayers, we're told, oh, this has to be spent and that has to be spent. And I think most taxpayers are like, okay, fine. I get it that this costs money. And yes, we want educated kids. And the public school system, you know, needs to be able to function at least and excel where it can. So, yeah, we'll spend this money. But tell us where it's going and why. And I think that is like a pretty basic question for taxpayers to be asking. Absolutely. And no one can ever answer. Nope. It's so weird. What do you think? 753-5868. Having a fun conversation here with our guest this hour, former Cache GOP chair Shellie Giddings, talking all things, but overall the thread here is taxpayers, when we are told where our money's going and why can they never show us the details of what we got, the ROI, as they say, that they claim in many cases is going to be huge, but show us what it is, and they never can. How would you fix this? 753-5868. We'll be back with more after these headlines with KVNU's Bill Walter.
Thank you, Jason. KVNU News Time is 4:30, and the news is brought to you by U&I Furniture. The Salt Lake City International Airport announced a record-breaking number of passengers through its doors in 2023, surpassing records from before the COVID-19 pandemic. From January 1st through December 31st, the airport recorded 26,952,754 passengers, making it the busiest year ever recorded. Previously, 2019 held the record for most passengers with 26,808,014 in total. The annual numbers are no surprise, considering the Salt Lake Airport shared data over the summer that suggested a travel boom had hit the Beehive State. The airport attributed the increase in passengers to more international flights coming into and out of the airport, while domestic travelers counts remained similar, with only an increase of just over 62,000 passengers. International skyrocketed by over 200,000. Bill Wyatt, executive director of the Salt Lake City Department of Airports, said the robust Utah economy has certainly played a role in the growth, as has the incredible partnership with their hub carrier, Delta Airlines, and the connectivity that they provide with their global partners throughout Canada, Europe, and Mexico. A man was critically injured after being buried alive in a trench collapse at a Weber County construction site. According to Weber Fire, they were dispatched in Ogden at about 9:45 a.m. Monday to an unincorporated area in West Weber County. Upon arrival, a Good Samaritan immediately grabbed a backhoe, removing the dirt to uncover the trapped individual. Emergency personnel were able to successfully remove the man from the trench, described as conscious during the removal, and transported him to a nearby hospital. The man was reported to be in critical condition with no other details immediately available. The incident remains under investigation. Ben Simmons had 10 points, 11 assists, and 8 rebounds in his return from a 38-game absence. Michael Bridges added 13 points, and the Brooklyn Nets routed the visiting Utah Jazz 147-114 last night. Utah State Aggie men's basketball, 17th ranked in the country in both polls. They are hosting San Jose State tonight in the Spectrum at 7. We'll have the game for you on KBNU, beginning with Al Lewis with Game Day at straight up 6 o'clock tonight on KBNU. News time is 4:33.
Oh, everybody needs a favorite chair to sit on. U&I Furniture has a big selection and sells so many chairs. Chairs for the living room, chairs to recline in, chairs for the dining room, lift chairs, occasional chairs, dining chairs, all kinds of chairs. And they even picked up more chairs with their last Furniture Market truckload, along with bedroom and dining sets, office furniture, TV consoles, even some with built-in fireplaces. So many good deals right now at U&I Furniture, and your tax return is coming soon. Use it on new furniture at the place where there's always a better buy. U&I Furniture, downtown Logan.
ABC News, I'm Daria Albinger. House Republicans could be a step closer to impeaching the Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas. They're expected to vote on 2 articles which accuse him of ignoring federal immigration laws.
Those disagreements over this impeachment are playing out point for point in this markup, where there are amendments proposed by Democrats that would derail this and Republicans are shooting them down. This is going to go for a long time.
ABC's Jay O'Brien at the Capitol. 2 NHL players, New Jersey's Michael McLeod and Calgary's Dylan Dubé, are charged with sexual assault in connection with an investigation of several members of Canada's 2018 World Junior team. President Biden's indicated he's decided how to respond to the deadly drone attack on U.S. troops in Jordan, but he says he does not want to expand the war in the Mideast. An Amtrak train derailed after hitting a truck carrying milk in northeastern Colorado. An Amtrak worker was seriously injured. This is ABC News.
KBNU weather for tonight, mostly clear but hazy conditions, patchy fog redeveloping, overnight low in the mid-20s. Partly cloudy in the morning, then becoming sunny, haze through the day, patchy fog in the morning, high in the lower 40s, and then a 40% chance of rain developing Thursday afternoon, mostly cloudy, mid-40s for the high. A little bit cooler today here at the Radio Ranch. It's only been 32 for the high. Some areas that are a little bit more out of the fog and haze might be a little bit warmer. Airport, the Logan Cache Airport at last report 37, but we have been to 32, and that's where we are right now at KBNU. KBNU weather brought to you by the Advocates. Chat online at utahadvocates.com or call 801-355-5550 if you are not at fault, and if you've been injured in a car, truck, or slip and fall accident, give the Advocates a call. For more details on these and other stories, visit CacheValleyDaily.com. Let's check Wall Street now with Edward Jones.
This is Senior Branch Office Administrator Tony Smith with the Financial Market Report for January 30th. Stocks finished mixed following better than expected readings on consumer confidence and job openings that were higher than expectations. The S&P 500 was roughly flat on the day, while the technology-heavy NASDAQ lagged, shedding over 0.7%. Overseas European markets closed higher following preliminary fourth quarter Eurozone GDP data. Eurozone GDP growth was flat quarter over quarter to finish 2023, narrowly avoiding 2 consecutive quarters of negative GDP growth. Short-term yields finished higher following the upbeat consumer confidence and labor market readings. The 2-year Treasury yield ticked up to 4.36%, while the 10-year yield was little changed at around 4.05%. We'd view the move higher in short-term yields as markets interpreting the upbeat economic readings as reason for the Fed to not rush into interest rate cuts. On corporate front, technology heavyweights Microsoft and Alphabet will report fourth quarter results after the market closed today. The Dow closed up 134 points at 38,467. NASDAQ closed down 118 points at 15,510. S&P closed down 3 points at 4,925. In the bond market, 10-year Treasury yields are trading at 4.04%, lower by a 0.3%. In stocks of local interest, Apple closed down $3.69 at $188.04. Nucor was up $12.26 at $188.90. Zions Bank down 49 cents at 44.44. Amazon was down $2.26 at $159. Delta Airline down 57 cents at $39.52. Walt Disney closed down 55 cents at $96.94. And Tesla closed up 66 cents at $191.59. This has been today's financial market report for January 30th, brought to you on behalf of Edward Jones, member SIPC, and Ted Karen, serving individual investors with personalized attention and financial advice.
Here's what some of our patients have to say about how Red River has changed their lives.
So before I started at Red River, I was having a lot of stomach pain. I was overweight, severe anxiety. I had been to multiple doctors. We had done tests, and no one could find anything that was wrong. And then a friend mentioned Red River, and I went and saw him, and it has changed my whole life. I'm sleeping through the night. I have energy for my kids. I've lost 30 pounds. No more stomach pains. I just feel really good.
Our goal is to focus on imbalances that are driving your condition or symptoms, not just give you Band-Aid answers. So when a patient comes to our office, we'll sit down with them extensively and go over their blood work to find out the underlying imbalances driving their symptoms.
Call Red River Health and Wellness at 855-55-RIVER. With offices in Logan, South Jordan, Springville, and St. George.
Call Red River today.
Hi, this is Gordon Deal. Wednesday on This Morning, America's First News, the latest on the U.S. response to the deadly drone attack on American troops in Jordan. Plus, what will the retaliation mean in an election year? Also, Bud Light's Bounce Back campaign will now include the Super Bowl. Hear what parent company Anheuser-Busch has planned. And how to know if you've just been given a quiet promotion at work. Wednesday on This Morning, America's First News. From 4 to 6 on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102 FM. Your station for news and talk.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People, talking politics, policy, and everything in between with our guest, Shellie Giddings, here in the studio. Shellie, the former chair of the Cache County Republican Party, a lot of experience organizing a party, herding cats, and delegates, but also a long-time activist and person involved with the state party. You've worked on campaigns. You've worked on, from that perspective, having worked on and with campaigns, both as a volunteer and then as chair organizing all the campaigns without taking a position. This has to be such a stressful time for party leadership, for candidates, it seems like a long time to all of us paying attention, and the general election will seem even longer, trust me. But once those ads get running, that we hear over and over. But it's really a short period of time between candidate filing period and the first decision-making event, which is the caucus convention.
Yes.
And then depending on how that plays out, or who files and collects signatures and all those things, We then enter primary season, which is also very short. That's got to be a headache, to say the least.
You have to work hard and fast as a candidate. You have to, think about our statewide candidates right now. They're having to go from one end of the state to the other, which I think is amazing. And it's only because we have the caucus convention system,
Did
right?
they do that?
Otherwise, we'd never see anybody.
No, just a few web videos and
yeah,
literally.
Right?
I mean, that's what happens.
TV ads and yeah, exactly. And so, so they have to hit the whole state, and they want to hit as many people as possible, or they should want to. And then some of them, I'll put a little plug in for John Curtis, who's running for Senate. He's still doing his job in Congress.
That's what sort of made me bring this up. We had an opportunity. He was here for the campaign launch last week here in Cache Valley. They're doing one in each region of the state. I jokingly said, I can't remember if this was on air or off air, but this is not something he would ask me to keep off the record. But I said something about the schedule. I think it was on air, and he just laid it out. What does the next few days look like? And that's what made me think of this, that I don't remember what it was now, but he was here for this event, and then red-eye flight to D.C. because the House, federal House, is also kind of a mess right now, and their schedule's really weird, and they're trying to get a whole bunch of things done before the ticking clock runs out on various deadlines, and so he had to be back, and that's what got me thinking. It's really no small thing to run for office, and to do it while serving in office at the same time.
Yeah.
You're either a masochist or you mean it, right?
No, it's tough. For a few days in the middle of the week, they're in D.C., comes home and hits the ground running, and is, southern Utah to Salt Lake City, up to Logan. It's crazy.
And he didn't even look tired.
No.
He had to have been.
I know.
But he was a fun interview. And
well, and I have to say another thing, too, is he's very concerned about being fiscally responsible. So, when they left here Thursday night after the event, they were going to have a meeting in Box Elder the next morning. And half of the staff stayed with, friends and people they knew and didn't pay for a hotel. And
to try and keep...
And 6 of them cram in the car to drive all the way down to Washington County. It's admirable, I think.
It's an interesting aspect of Utah Republican campaign politics because you can hurt yourself by... There was a candidate a while ago that traveled the state on a private jet. And that was the best kept secret of that campaign. And when I first learned of that, I thought, why does that have to be a secret? I mean, sure, you want to be at a campaign event in St. George in 40 minutes and you have access to a private jet. Who would say no? But they did not want that out because they recognized that it would look, this was 2 or 3 cycles ago. It's no one running now. But they realized that would turn off delegates and that Republican voters might turn their nose up at that. Private jet from Logan to St. George, huh? How would it be?
Right. Must be nice.
And that's an interesting aspect. That still kind of holds true, right, in Utah Republican Party circles.
Absolutely.
Challenging.
Well, Republicans...
I'd get on the private jet.
Seriously. No, well, one of the things, Republicans are supposed to be fiscally responsible, right? It's just how it's supposed to be is the key right there.
Sure.
No, but I think that's really admirable. But no, it's campaign season. I call it campaign season. Is very busy.
Yeah.
And trying to set up meetings and with people, that's like herding cats too. Okay, we want to get all of the mayors from this county together to meet John or to meet, whoever. And, 3 of them can make it and the others can't.
I know how hard it is just trying to get them on the show.
I know.
I can't imagine trying to organize a meeting with them all. And yeah, it's just, but it's an exciting time because it also gets people, interacting and talking in these ways that can be really healthy and really. I respect a candidate that sincerely wants to learn. I don't expect in the Romney book. There's a thing Mitt Romney says that I really like. He says, I've always been labeled a flip-flopper, but what the truth is I've just changed my mind. And you can argue whether that's really the case or not, or whether it was really good timing for him to change his mind at those times, because it did look that way at times, that it was politically expedient. But he said, do you want elected officials that don't change or that don't learn? And I thought that's a really good point. And I realized that, we have some of these things that we hold candidates to that is unrealistic. One of the things that I think really bothers me, and I've heard delegates say this, I've heard just general register voters say this, but, so-and-so doesn't even know this part of the state. Mm-hmm. But they're here, and they're asking questions. Yep. And to me, that's a good thing. They want to learn a part of. So even if a candidate is from, Garfield County running in a statewide race, as you said, the caucus system forces them out, and then they come to places like Cache Valley and they sit down with people and get to learn the area. We shouldn't expect them to be perfect before they file, right? Is what I'm getting at.
Right.
Unrealistic.
Well, and when they do come here, they're making an effort to come up here and to visit with people. So we should make an effort to get out there, even if it's a last-minute thing, because, a lot of times campaigns are very last minute. We have time here. Let's see if we can have a meeting. And sometimes you can't change your schedule, but if you can, you should be there. You should do your best to come and meet this candidate because they're doing their best to come and meet you. Yeah.
And you're going to be asked to cast a ballot.
Yep.
And so I think that's part of the responsibility of voters to be informed by, when you have an opportunity to ask a question in person or meet a candidate in person, statewide office, governor's race, local races, whatever it is, take advantage of that. And I always say this, if you've ever seen politics in another state, it doesn't happen everywhere still. People in Utah, I think, take that for granted. And it's not the case in every state anymore.
Oh, not at all. Not even close. No, we are very lucky here to have what we have. And so we have to make sure we don't lose it. And so I'm going to put a plug in for caucus. March 5th is caucus night. So go to caucus and get involved and run to be a delegate, a state delegate or a county delegate. It's not difficult. It does take time. Certain times of the year, you might get a lot of emails certain times of the year from candidates.
Sure.
But without it, again, we don't see candidates up here.
Yeah.
They're going to stay in Salt Lake.
Where the money is, right? That's
the population.
That's the only place they need to be.
That's right. That's right. So go to caucus. We need a better cross-section of Republicans. I don't know how the Democrats are doing in their caucuses, but I know that as far as Republicans are concerned, we need a better cross-section of our population to go to caucus and to get involved.
From what I've heard, it's the same with the Democrats, just in a reverse way. Things have gotten very Salt Lake County centered with their delegate makeup.
Interesting.
And they've had a hard time filling delegate seats outside of the area. And that was the one thing Democrats did well over the years is they never had a problem getting delegates from Cache Valley, county or state. And but they've had challenges with that. I think it's just a lack of organizing in general from some of the county parties. But I agree with you. The whole point of this is that anyone literally can go out and do it. One of my favorite pitches for caucus night. This is years ago, and I don't know if he remembers it. It was Congressman Rob Bishop. Caucus night was coming up. He was here for another reason, but I said, "Do you want to give a quick elevator pitch for caucus night?" And this is what he said. Former Congressman Rob Bishop said, and we have a recording somewhere. He said, "Go to caucus night because I guarantee that neighbor that gets on your nerves, they're going." Do you want them representing you? And then he laughed and said, I'm kidding. And then he came up with a positive one, which is that you can do a lot of good, actually. You can influence candidates. You can influence who is the candidate. It's an important job. But yeah, it really does come down to that someone's going to show up and be elected a representative of your precinct, of your, whatever it might be. And it might be someone that you don't agree with or that you don't want representing you, but you can't do a thing about that if you're not there.
Exactly.
So.
Exactly. Again, we need a better cross section. I don't know. We seem to have extremes happening, and so people go to caucus.
That was. I remember the last time I went to a Democratic Party event. I went as just someone covering it, basically. I wasn't involved, but they were talking about some things that were never going to come up in Utah. and I thought, you're Utah delegates. And then I had this similar experience at a Republican event where they're talking about some things that just were hot button issues, but weren't going to be coming up in Utah. And it's disappointing because it's an opportunity to literally to get involved in running your state.
Right.
So take advantage. March 5th, right?
Yes, March 5th. I was hoping that the county party was going to do a little bit more as far as education.
In advance?
Yeah, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen.
Yeah.
So, and with the Lincoln, so they're having their big dinner this Saturday, the big fundraising dinner. And because we've got 89 candidates,
they're all
okay, more like 30 or 35, but still
a lot.
With 30 or 35 candidates, though, they can make a lot of money on this fundraiser if they're doing it right.
Yeah.
And
because this is an opportunity to hear from them all.
Right. So I was looking at it and I've been thinking, okay, if I was chair, I could probably make close to $60,000 on this dinner, which is double what we've made. So I hope that they're taking advantage of that. And I would hope that they could take some of that in this next month and maybe do some caucus education.
Sure.
A door
to get
hanger.
People more involved.
A door hanger's not really what I consider education. I'm talking about really teaching people why we have caucus and why it's important and why they need to be involved. Not just, here's where you find your precinct. This is what you do. Those steps are important too. But I think once people really understand the reasons behind why, when they know the why, I think that they would get more involved. But
and let's be blunt. A good why right now is that if more people don't get involved, it is going to go away. I mean, it really will. It's just going to become irrelevant. And I think that would be unfortunate because, like you said, that's going to change how statewide candidates campaign. We'll never see them here again.
Well, and it's why we got the signature path. SB 54 came about because... again, the cross-section, we haven't been getting that cross-section of people, and it's been more of the extremists. And so they got together and said, this is not necessarily representing the population of Utah, so let's do this. Anyway, so...
Show up.
The more people that come, the better.
And it's easy. Too. I mean, that's the thing. You don't have to register. You don't have to. You literally just show up and start going through the process. There will be someone there to kind of explain the rules and walk everyone through it. And then there are some nominating and voting events and then some educational events. And hopefully the state party has one of those cool videos coming out again soon. I like those when we do them. But we'll see. Shellie Giddings, our guest here, former chair of the Cache County Republican Party. And Jeff, if you're out there listening, some free advice there. Take advantage of those 150 candidates that are going to be speaking and pack those chairs at the Lincoln dinner. I would do the same. It's a very rare time that you have this many people who have filed to run for office. So fundraise like the Gittins off that. We'll be back right after this.
Winter weather is hard on your vehicle. What's worse is when your vehicle breaks down and the only option is to drag it to the mechanic. This is Harrison with HH Mobile Repair. Listen, don't do that. It's not safe, and I'll come to you. HH Mobile Repair can handle all your repair needs at home, or if something happens at work, call me, and I'll diagnose it on the spot and repair it quickly, so you don't have to risk your safety. To schedule, search HH Mobile Repair or call 435-500-2430. That's 435-500-2430.
Check out the new Liberty Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in beautiful Montpelier, Idaho. We've got friendly staff, great service, fresh inventory, and the same values you expect in a small town. Montpelier, Idaho, a small town with great people to serve you, the people of Idaho, Wyoming, and Utah. You can now see most inventory online too at libertycdjr.com. We're the new Liberty Chrysler Dodge Jeep and Ram in Montpelier with warranty forever.
What if we told you the next 3 times you fill your tank, you could save money? Well, at Chevron, it's true. You can get $1 off per gallon on your next 3 visits when you download the Chevron app and join Chevron Rewards. Earn points on every fuel transaction and qualifying in-store purchases at any Cache Valley Chevron station. Doesn't it feel great to get rewarded for being you? Download the app and join to get started today. Terms and conditions apply. Visit any Cache Valley Chevron station for details or go to ChevronTexacalRewards.com.
Shellie, thank you. It's always great to have you join us. And man, we covered some ground this hour. That is, you're going to be busy as well. I know you're helping still, even though you're not serving as chair anymore, you're helping campaigns kind of organize and get word out to voters, doing some get out the vote stuff and things like that. I know that you have been helping. When campaigns come to town, obviously they need contacts. Like, where do we go for this and that? So by any means, you're still kind of doing a lot of the chair stuff, even though you retired from that position. Thank you for taking. Basically, my point is, thanks for taking an hour out of your day to come in and talk to us about this. It's great to get a fresh perspective.
Well, thank you for having me. I enjoy these times with you, Jason.
I do too. It's fun to.
I don't know if anybody else does, but
I hope so. I hope you all enjoy it. If you don't, keep your mouth shut. Shellie will be back with us next month for another episode. And please stay tuned. Hour 2 of today's show, kicking off with Sutherland Institute's Defending Ideas with a very timely installment today regarding the legislative session. That's right after this here on KVNU Logan.
Aggie Basketball is heard here. News Talk KVNU Logan, 102 FM, 610 AM, the home for the Aggies.